Hi, my name is Hazel Ebbingkamp, and I'll be talking about toxic gender roles in film. So, my media ethics points are communitarianism, utilitarianism, and the veil of ignorance. Basically, the negative impacts that are being placed on the female community and the male community is outweighing the good, which is good aspect, which is like entertainment purposes. The veil of ignorance is how do we minimize the prejudice being placed on against both genders, and society is doing a lot to counter these stereotypes, but there needs to be a bigger drive, and I'll talk about that later on in the presentation. So toxic female roles in film. Stereotypes is like dumb blonde and usually brunettes are evil, so Cruel Intentions is a good example about this. Sexually alluring characters, and if they're not sexually alluring, they always look their best. So Princess Diaries, she goes from a high schooler that doesn't know how to flirt to a princess of Genovia, and because she has this higher status and this money and stuff, she gets this makeover, and suddenly she's beautiful. Damsels in distress, being constantly saved, usually by a toxic male role. Vulgar language is usually looked upon as a more masculine trait, so if it's a toxic female role, they tend to not usually use this language. Passive and quiet, because they're being oppressed by a toxic male role. So you have the Bechdel test, which is a 3-part test that says if there is 2 or more female characters, and if they have a conversation with each other, and if that conversation is not about men. So all 3 movies at the top here, The Notebook, King Kong, and Star Wars, do not pass. They are also good examples of damsels in distress. For instance, The Notebook, he talks about their love story and how they fell in love, and the reason why she's a damsel in distress is because he's telling this love story to her when she's older and has dementia, and he's trying to get her to remember. King Kong, in both the black and white version and this 2000 version, she has to be saved by her love interest and the gorilla at certain points of the movie. Star Wars, even though Princess Leia is a very independent and strong character, the whole point of the movie is to save her, because she sends a hologram that says, she's like, Obi-Wan, you're our only hope, and they go on this crazy mission to save her from Darth Vader. And she even kind of takes on a sexually alluring aspect. She's being tortured, and when Luke walks in to save her, she's in this draw me like one of your French girls kind of poses. And she's immediately after she's being saved, that's when her independence and her confidence comes out, and she ends up taking over the rescue plan and getting these 2 idiots and her out of here. So it kind of fixes itself. Toxic male roles in films, so toxic masculinity tropes, usually they don't show emotion. Men aren't supposed to cry. They're always the hero, and if they aren't the hero and they are the villain, they are the top dog villain. They're the ones that call the shot. So that leads to alpha males. They are dominant. Again, they call the shots, you listen to them. Usually heterosexual, because homosexual stereotypes tend to be more feminine, and you can't have that if you're a toxic masculine trope. Women are seen as objects. They are something to be like a trophy wife. That's usually why they're blonde. So in The Irishman, he has a daughter that he doesn't really show any connection with. The only time you kind of see that he cares is when he beats the shit out of someone that harassed her. They never need help because they're usually doing the help for the toxic female roles. So I'm about to show you 2 clips, and one is from 50 Shades of Grey, and when they first meet, and then the other one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And the 50 Shades of Grey is the more sexual, alluring aspects of both roles, and then the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the more domineering, calling the shots, who's in control of the situation.
The key to my success has been in identifying talented individuals and harnessing their efforts. So you're a control freak?
Oh, I exercise control in all things, Miss Steele.
Okay. Your company is involved primarily in the telecommunications sector, yet you also invest in numerous agricultural projects, including several in Africa. Is that something that you feel passionate about? Feeding the world's poor?
It's smart business. You don't agree?
I don't know enough about it. I just wonder if perhaps your heart might be a bit bigger than you want to let on.
There's some people who say that I don't have a heart at all.
Why would they say that?
Because they know me well.
Literally perfect example of toxic female roles and toxic masculinity. So in the wide shot here, there's one point where you see his chair is slightly higher than hers to show dominance. He even gets up at one point and walks around the desk, and he's constantly standing while she's sitting, so she has to look up to him, which is a symbolism for his dominance, basically. She takes on this more pure and innocent role. Later on, she kind of shows a more sexual, confident side, but like even right now, she kind of shows like the sexually alluring by like chewing on a pencil. But she's very quiet and very passive. And the whole point of 50 Shades of Grey is like this whole BDSM community where she's supposed to be submissive and he's the dominant one. So again, the sexual traits, he's in control, he calls the shots, she's quiet and passive, blah blah blah. And then the next one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and yeah.
You are... I'm the devil, and I'm here to do the devil's business. No, it's dumber than that. Something like Rex.
I chewed on Tex!
Tex!
So there you can see he's very uncaring, like he's outnumbered and he's still making jokes like the whole Tex thing. He's the one calling the shots, he's the one telling the dog what to do, who to attack. He doesn't need help. Even though he's outnumbered, he still ends up killing all of them. Spoiler. So basically, in film nowadays, not every role or every character is toxic, but a lot of traits do end up being in one of the characters, at least one of the traits. And how does this influence our younger generations or our media? So for like instance, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, they are these rich, beautiful, curvy women that have like luscious lips, they have the best of everything, and yet they set this trend, and then you have other platforms and other people that follow that trend. So like Stassi here, who's even friends with Kardashians, has a huge following on Instagram because she's curvy, because she's got these luscious lips, she's tan, all this. And because she has that following, and then Keeping Up with the Kardashians have that kind of same aspect, it influences that the younger generation, specifically females, need to look a certain way and act a certain way. So if movies are saying that you need to be passive, or you need to act cute, or always have your makeup and stuff done, it's not realistic, and that puts a high expectation, and a lot of pressure on the younger generations, especially with nowadays and how fast our technology is updating. It's hard to keep track of what trend is going on. And this goes with men. So, like, you have the Dolan twins here, which I don't know why people think they're attractive, but they kind of have like this bad boy aspect, uncaring, but yet they have a six pack. They exercise, they go and do crazy adventures, and that's considered attractive. You have Love Island here, where a lot of the men have six packs. There's always that one bad boy that's all the women love, and if men are seeing that women are attracted to this, they think that that's what they need to do. And so this causes a bridge between the relationships that they end up like growing in, like they end up having later on, and it ends up being toxic. And that's why there's a lot of negative tropes that need to be pushed out of the media, and more talk about how we need to be more realistic about ourselves, which we are slowly doing. Like, you have plus size models like Ashley Graham and Lizzo, who don't follow these trends, but it is still hard because we have other platforms and other people saying negative things and say, no, this is how you need to look, this is how you need to act. And it's very hard, especially when culture and other and like religion and stuff like that come into play. But I think overall our society is doing a good job. I just wish that there was an even higher drive on all platforms. Thank you.